We're going to get started right on the dot. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I start with the name of Allah, the one with no partner and no similar, the one with no length, no width, no depth and no perimeter, the one who's not a volume and not in a place, and how could he be in a place when he existed before time and space? His speech is without letter, sound, nor language, not Arabic, Hebrew, nor Korean. He's not a light, he's not a spirit, he has nothing in common with human being. He's not in the direction of up, down, right, left, front, nor back. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is different from that. And I ask him to raise the rank, honor, and prestige of our beloved Master Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the slave of Allah, his final messenger, and the best of God's creations. May Allah unite us with him in paradise and grant us a drink from his basin. And may Allah grant us the purest knowledge, manners, unity, and comprehension, and help us put our knowledge into practice and grant us the sincere intention. Allahumma ameen. Ameen ya Rabb. Thereafter, we're going to start with the preface and just some housekeeping rules. If you have a question about something unclear, feel free to ask, whether it's through the chat function, I presume it works, or you can unmute your mic and ask. I prefer the unmuting, and I will also stop from time to time to ask if anyone has any questions, inshallah ta'ala. Each section or each subset of sections will have an opportunity to cover some Q&A, but please make sure it's relevant to what we are covering. And please, this is a religious session, so may Allah grant us the adab of the religious session. It's okay to ask questions, it's encouraged to ask questions, but with the sheer number of people that we may be having, it cannot be as intimate and discussion based. And of course, there is no room for opinion. We're here to learn knowledge, inshallah ta'ala, and by it, inshallah, we will better our lives. And for those who have the template, you're more than welcome to follow along, inshallah. We'll start with the preface. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa sallu ala nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The poor slave of Allah, who was hopeful for the mercy of the generous Lord, Nadim Shaykh, the son of Sa'id, Al-Hashimi, Al-Harari, may Allah forgive his sins and grant him pardon, says, praise and thanks are due to Allah, Lord of the worlds. From him come the endowments and true honor, and to him belongs a perfect praise, and we seek his help in our worldly and religious affairs. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise the rank of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the seal of the prophets, and may he raise the rank of his honorable family, namely Imam Ali, rahmatullah alayhi wa karamallahu wajha, Lady Fatima, Imam al-Hasan wal-Hussein, their descendants, and the mothers of the believers, may peace be upon them all, pure from idolatry and dying upon blasphemy. And his elect companions, alayhi salatu wasalam, those whom Allah elevated in merit over the companions of previous prophets. This book contains rulings of the Shafi'iyy school. And again, if I use any terms that you're not familiar with, please feel free to ask, whether in the chat, preferably for terms, please ask in the chat, inshallah ta'ala. But I will try to keep the Arabic to a minimum, if not completely absent, because we do have a range of students from I've never taken a single matan in my life to I've taken the Fadl Ayn, whether in the Hanafi school, the Maliki school, or the Shafi'i school. But this is covering the Shafi'i school. So the madahib are a set of sacred laws and principles which have been extracted and codified by the Mujtahid Mutlaq, which is the highest level of Islamic scholarship, from the Holy Quran and the Hadith corpus, undergoing numerous painstaking peer reviews by thousands of scholars for over 1,200 years, screening for errors and weak rulings, reaffirming what is correct, or replacing them with stronger rulings to ensure its alignment with the Holy Quran, Hadith corpus, and the consensus or the ijma'. And after such extensive and exhaustive review, a lay Muslim can trust that everything taught by one of the four schools of jurisprudence, whether it be the Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, or Hanbali school, is supported by the strongest proofs and soundest reasoning. And said Shafi'i school was founded by Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, one of the most highly revered scholars of the Salaf. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, the scholars of Quraysh will fill the world with his knowledge. So by unanimous agreement, this hadith, by all hadith scholars, is in reference to Imam al-Shafi'i. The scholars of Quraysh will fill the world with his knowledge. So this scholar is referring to Imam al-Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi. And the rulings mentioned in this book were gathered from famous books of Shafi'iyy Fiqh, such as Sulam al-Tawfiq by Shaykh Abdullah ibn Hussein ibn Tahir, and Al-Muqaddima al-Hadramiyyah, and Umdat al-Raghib, and Bughiyat al-Talib, and Ihya Ulum al-Din, which is by Hujjat al-Islam Imam al-Ghazali, and Al-Fatawa, and Fath al-Qarib, which is an explanation of Al-Ghazi, of Matlab Abu Shuja', Minhaj al-Talibin, and Minhaj al-Tullab by Shaykh al-Islam Zakaria al-Ansari and others. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect the following shuyukh and scholars by whom we were able to take this holy science with an unbroken chain to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, namely Dr. Shaykh Samir al-Qadi, Dr. Shaykha Nusayba, Shaykh Muhammad Akhras, Shaykh Sharez, Shaykh Yahya al-Baltumuri, Shaykh Warsame Abdul Wahid, Shaykh Muhammad Amin Abdullah, and Shaykh Ra'id Abdul Malik. May Allah preserve them all and grant them a high status in this life and the next. And there is no protection from disobeying Allah, and there is no strength in there is no protection from disobeying Allah, and there is no strength to obey Allah except by Allah. He is Al-Ali, the highest in status, and Al-Azim, the greatest in status. Thereafter, among the contracts people partake in is the marriage contract. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Al-Quran what means, "O you believe, O you who believe, protect yourselves and your families from a fire who's fueled by people and stone." You guys have heard of this verse in the Al-Quran. Imam Ata, which is the Imam of the Tabi'een, and the Tabi'een are those who follow the companions. So he was the Imam of the Tabi'een in Medina. He said, protect yourselves and your families, yani, from a fuel that is of people and stone. This verse is referring to learning and teaching them how to pray, how to fast, how to buy and sell, how to marry and how to divorce. This is how you're safe in the hereafter. To learn about these matters and to apply these judgments. Many Muslims, mashallah, they love collecting books on their bookshelves and they love to attend classes, but the difficulty is in applying what you learned. So Imam Ata, when mentioning these prayers, he's referring to the 5 daily prayers, or more if you know it's in your best interest, the Sunnah prayers. And fasting here referring to that of Ramadan. Now, you may or may not buy and sell. Some people never engage in transactions. For example, if you live with your parents, they might buy everything. If you have a husband, he might pay for everything. But as for marriage, it takes a great amount of time in your daily life, even more so than work. Even when you're at work, your spouse is calling you, your children are calling you, and you clock out of work. You don't clock out of marriage so long as you're married. So for most people, marriage is thought over a lot, whether the person wants to marry or is happily married, or reflecting over the fact that they're unhappily married, or if they're contemplating divorce, or if they're divorced and this divorce is weighing on their mind. It can be part of our life by way of a friend asking their opinion or asking our opinion about their marriage. And Allah mentions marriage and spouses numerous times throughout the Quran, and we see how it should be between spouses who obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as mentioned in Surah Rum. Allah mentions, among the signs created by Allah is that He created Eve from the rib of Adam alayhi salam. And He created women so that you may have azwajan li taskunu ilayha, wives that you are inclined to with tranquility. خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. He said from His signs He created spouses for you. And this is an indication of the power of God. And this is an indication of Allah's power, the fact that He created spouses for us. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And Allah created between you love and mercy. So remember, taskunu, which is tranquility, mawadda, the love, and rahmah, which is the mercy. Allah created this between the spouses. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتِ لِقَوْمِ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Surely in this are signs for those who reflect and ponder. Whether you're happily married, unhappily married, or those who anticipate to get married, one would anticipate that this would also be part of their marriage. So Allah creating men and women, ordaining marriage between them and for them to be fond of each other, these are among the signs of the power of God and the wisdom of God. So if we reflect over what Allah revealed, wives you are inclined towards with tranquility, azwajan li taskunu ilayha. This tells you that having affinity and compassion among spouses is the objective in marriage. And achieving this between the couple has a great effect on their lives, the lives of their children, and overall it reflects on the society as a whole. Some people, they get so caught up with their feelings of being hurt in the marriage, and your feelings of pain is valid, but out of being so obsessed with their feelings, they lose track of the objective. They start trying to play a game of who can outdo or outsmart the husband or wife. I'm going to show her, I'm going to show him. Playing mind games with each other. Putting up walls and barriers instead of saying, Allah created tranquility, compassion, and peace as a natural inclination between spouses. And therefore, why don't I work towards that? And the Prophet ﷺ used the word khayrukum in a hadith regarding the importance of teaching and learning Al-Quran. He used the word khayrukum, yani the best of you. And the same word was used when talking about interacting with wives. The Prophet ﷺ said, the best of you, khayrukum, is the best to his wife, and I am the best of you to my wives, end quote. And if you guys would be so kind to mute your microphone, Allah yubarik fikum. I know sometimes when you join, it automatically turns on, so it's okay, don't stress about it. So this transaction of marriage can potentially be a way to acquire many blessings, but the barakah comes in learning how to take advantage of this relationship. And you will see throughout this workshop or series or whatever you would like to call it, I'm going to use a lot of similarity or parallel correlation to that of the workplace relationship. Your job can also be a means of a lot of blessings for you and your family if you know how to take advantage of your worker to co-worker relationship, subordinate to boss relationship, or boss to subordinate relationship. However, most people, even amongst the Muslims, even amongst those who learn the Fard al-Ayn, do not think of marriage from this aspect. They think that it is to fulfill some need, yani to have a partner, to check off a list so I can post it on Instagram that I got married, so I don't feel bored or alone anymore. But it can be a way for you to have a high status, for you to actually feel happy and peaceful in your life. When the Prophet ﷺ would sleep at the house of one of his wives, look at the adab of the Rasul ﷺ. He would wake up in the morning and go to the door of each of his wives and then give them his salam, instead of waiting for them to come to him because they yearned for the Rasul ﷺ. He ﷺ would make the effort and go to each of them. Correlation for those of you guys who work from home, or at least can see your spouse in the morning. Do you guys give your spouse a warm hello, good morning, assalamu alaikum, a quick kiss on the cheek before they go, before you go? Or even if you both work from home, do you guys start your morning off on a positive note? And among the reasons why he was the best of all creations, والسلام, and the most accepted by Allah, was because of how he treated his wives. So the one who wants to follow the Prophet ﷺ would treat his wives with kindness also. Some people say, well, hey, I'm no Prophet ﷺ. I'm not Abu Bakr, I'm not Umar. Or some women, waliyadu billah, they say, well, I'm not Aisha. If he wanted a Aisha, he should have married a Aisha or a Khadija. Ajib, ajib. Would you say such a word in front of the Rasul ﷺ? Yes, we sin. Yes, we make mistakes and we will fall short over and over and over again. However, where is the hope? Yani, when you don't have an object of hope, what incentive do you have to do good? I will never be on the status of the Rasul ﷺ, and you will never be like Lady Maryam. But can't we aim to imitate them? Don't they say in America, imitation is the greatest form of flattery? So, although we have flaws, what can we do to imitate the Rasul ﷺ? He would not be arrogant towards them. No matter what circumstance would come his way, he would treat them with compassion and patience and deal with them using intelligence, meaning he would think before he acts. Not like a lot of us, waliyadu billah, we act and then afterwards we regret our choice. Or some of us, we're so damned, we don't even regret the foul behavior we have. Under any circumstance, the Prophet ﷺ, he was cool, calm, and collected. If you look in Shama'il al-Tirmidhi, and it gives you goosebumps when you just look at this attribute. The Prophet ﷺ, despite being an outstanding imam, he was like a counselor, he was like a friend, he was a grandfather, he was a neighbor, he was a benefactor, he was a faqih. He had all these hats he wore, and he never fell short in his humility. And this is why we refer back to the hadith of Jibreel as the foundation of our religion, to implement what he asked about, al-Islam, al-Iman, and al-Ihsan. Many of us, we learn the Fard al-Ain, which is al-Iman, the aqeedah, the belief of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he does not resemble anything, he does not need anything. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is different from that. He's not confined by the directions. And Islam, knowing the details of tahara, the purification, prayer, fasting, how to buy and sell. But the ihsan is completely void from our life, mashallah. Ihsan is the tasawwuf. Some people say, oh, I'm Rifa'i, I'm Qadiri, I'm Shadili, and they recite the tariqah, and alhamdulillah, this is good. But the tariqah is a code of conduct and ethics and manners. So what did Imam al-Rifa'i say? He said, be like the incense. Be like the incense. The more they burn you, the more fragrant you become. This was the adab of the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. And there are accounts of husbands beating their wives and treating them harshly over trivial matters, such as not preparing their meal as they wanted, or it wasn't hot. Someone like this would be unjust and a major sinner. But they have hope. We all have hope. Kullu zinam, all of us, we commit sins. Our aqeedah is that we are not prophets. And by default, if we are not a prophet, we are susceptible to sins. MashaAllah. So give yourself small attainable goals. The Prophet ﷺ, he would help around the house. He ﷺ would milk the animals. And he would fix the pail if it cracked, and fix his shoes with his own honorable hands, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam would treat them very well. And the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasallam was not one to leave all the chores for his wives neither. He would assist in chores around the house, as was narrated by Al-Bukhari, that lady Aisha radiallahu anha. She was once asked, what did the Prophet used to do around the house alayhi salatu wasallam? She said, he would do the work that a man usually does around the house. We are Shafi'iyy Fiqh. Many people with their chest, they say, I am a Shafi'i, I am a Maliki, I am a this, I am a that. If you're a Shafi'i, ask yourself, when was the last time you cooked? When was the last time you cleaned? Although you didn't verbally say it, is it expected that if your wife doesn't cook, that there's going to be trouble? She's going to see your wrath, mashallah. First start with asking yourself, taking an audit of yourself. Am I being just? Am I being fair? If the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, if he was to see me in my house for one day, if he was to spend the night, would he be proud of me? Or would he be ashamed? This great religion of al-Islam illustrates the details of the Muslim's life. When you want to sleep, there's a certain way you sleep that is religiously preferred, which is on your right side. How to eat and what to take when you're sick, or if you have a need to be fulfilled. Islam teaches you how to deal with families, like your parents, your siblings, neighbors, and the like. And the religion tells us how to conduct ourselves in all of these situations. So of course, when it comes to marriage, which takes up so much of our life, Islam definitely illustrates the code of conduct in detail. This is why the details of marriage are known in the religion, whether it be about who is it recommended for us to get married to. Who is it recommended just to get married? Some people say, fulfilling a marriage is a sunnah. It's half of your religion. It's not sunnah for everyone to get married. There are certain people in which it is recommended for them to get married. And we'll talk about those details. Who to get married to? How would one propose to their fiancé? What are the attributes of the honorable husbands and wives? How to conduct a wedding? How to do the nikah? Meaning not like how to do nikah, like what kind of decoration should you have? Who is authorized to be the guardian? What is the honorable mahr? What is the valid mahr? What are the rights of the parties involved? How to live together? How to divorce? What are the post-marital waiting periods like, and other daily experiences? The successful marriage is a marriage where both spouses know how to treat one another correctly and know how to put happiness into each other's hearts. This is what happens when you watch too much TikTok and you watch too many posters on Instagram. I've seen a lot of it before, a few years ago when I was more so on social media, where people say everyone's responsible for their own happiness. And yet the Shafi'iyya say we should put an effort to put happiness into each other's hearts. The only way to do that is to follow the path of Al-Mustafa, our Prophet ﷺ. And following the Prophet ﷺ means to adhere to his beliefs, sayings and actions, because Allah ordered us to obey the Prophet ﷺ. When we say Muhammadur Rasulullah in our Shahadatain, it means Muhammad ﷺ is in charge of our affairs. Islam is not just for the wali. Some people think, oh, I'm not religious. Islam is for the religious person, the non-religious person, the major sinner, everybody. It's for everybody. It's a code of conduct on how to conduct yourself. I would be so surprised sometimes, but I would see some people, they drink and they're open with it. They mess around with women and they don't hide it from their friends. But when it comes to Fajr Salah, not only do they pray it on time, they go to the masjid for Fajr Salah. And when they were asked about it, and I'm there, I'm socializing with these people, they would say things like, Islam is for me and you. It's not just for the pious people. It's for all of us. Today he's praying while committing other sins. Today she's not wearing her hijab, but she carries the abaya in her big purse so she can pray properly everywhere. Tomorrow this sin may be alleviated. It'll never be there ever again, inshallah. Indeed, Allah has made following of his Prophet ﷺ an indication of the level of love a person has towards the Prophet ﷺ. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst those who seek direction by the guidance of our Prophet ﷺ, and among those who do not stray from this path. And some of the praised attributes, characteristics, and habits in an Islamic marriage will be explained in compliance with the way of our blessed Prophet ﷺ, which is encouraged towards the spouses. And so this first step to reaching this tranquility is for you to seek righteousness. Again, we are not prophets, therefore we are susceptible to sin. It is okay. You have to start somewhere. So if one was not on the path of righteousness and did not learn the rules concerning this matter, then what that person feels is not tranquility. Rather, this would be ghalat, like a state of negligence. Islam has painted for us a brilliant portrait that is actually achievable. The rules of Islam are not meant for just the awliya to reach and implement. It's for us, sinners alike. And a couple who loved each other and took advantage of the bond they had with the tranquility, with the love and the rahmah we mentioned earlier. They maximize the time they have together in doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts and honors. This portrait that the Prophet ﷺ told us about, it is rare to find such couples today. To the extent the happiest couples are the ones who don't post anything. They don't share their pictures because they're afraid of the hasad, the ayn, the envy and the evil eye, because of how rare it is just to be happy. just to be happy, not thriving, not on cloud nine, just to be content. I'm happy and satisfied with my life. That itself, that phrase itself is very rare to find. So to find this happy couple and to see how they live their day-to-day life, this would be strange even amongst the Muslims. Dr. Shaykha Nusayba, may Allah preserve her, she said even the Muslims who have learned their Fard al-Ayn, they would be viewed as strangers amongst others who have learned their Fard al-Ayn. MashaAllah. I'll give an example. For example, the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah has mercy upon the man who wakes up in the middle of the night and prays. So far, if we stop here, Muslims would find this strange. Whether you wake up in the night to pray, to read Quran, to make istighfar, let's stick to the act of prayer. And the hadith continues. And he wakes his wife to pray with him. And if she does not wake up, then he should sprinkle some water on her face. So, Allah has mercy upon the woman who gets up at night and prays, which is strange today. And she wakes her husband, that is to pray with her. And if he does not wake up, then she should also sprinkle some water on his face. Do we know anyone who does this? Any couple who has done this every day, or once a week, or once a month, or at least once in their marriage? Even once in their marriage, this is rare. This is strange. So when this portrait is something that flows naturally between the couple, to wake up in the middle of the night, to a sprinkle of water, to pray the recommended prayers, we're not even talking about Fajr. May Allah grant us that. This indicates a high level of mutual understanding and cooperation and affinity. It's as if you're saying, Ya Habibi or Ya Habibti, I want you to be my spouse in Jannah, which is forever. So here's a facilitation for that. Here's a means for that. This shows the tranquility that we are talking about. It shows the mutual understanding of our purpose in this world. However, to attain this portrait, to have this beautiful, illustrious painting, if you want to call it that, a few things must happen. First is for one to choose a suitable partner that will support you to become a better human being. I'm going to repeat that part again because a lot of people, when they talk to me about I want to find a husband, I want to find a wife, when we talk about the suitable partner, khalas, their mind is somewhere else. If someone chose to marry a woman, for example, that does not know how to pray, they don't know how to differentiate between a valid and invalid prayer according to any of the madhab, then he would be far, far away from reaching that level of peace. We're just talking about knowing how to pray. Imagine everything else. And what do some men tell me? MashaAllah. Some men will say, oh, I'm marrying this unlearned woman so that I can teach her. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. If you're willing to make such a sacrifice, you're willing to sacrifice your one slot for marriage for this woman so you could teach her, then become a teacher without marrying your students. Become a teacher, you don't have to marry your students. You want to make that sacrifice? Marhaba. Go to the masjid, go to the musalla, go to the institute, and go teach. In English, they say this such a person is hiding behind their finger with these sorts of statements. Oh, he drinks, he doesn't pray, he doesn't make dhikr, he doesn't make tawbah, he hasn't learned. But mashallah, I'm going to teach him. That's what some women say too. Mashallah. What a gamble. What a sacrifice. Mashallah. And then these are the people who say, what went wrong? What went wrong is you had no qidra for what the Rasul advised you of. He is al-khayru khalqillahi, the greatest creations of all time. The one who we should love more than our mother and our father and our homies in the group chat, or your girlfriends who you go for your advice and it's not in line with our Rasul wanted from us. Marriage is a huge investment. So you need to be careful. You need to be careful. Some people, they will pick a partner, it doesn't meet any criteria. Yet you think, did they just pick someone out of the Instagram list or out of a hat? And the more you advise them, the more they want to prove to you, I'm going to show you that this marriage is going to work. Why? Because they have the rose-colored goggles on. they think they're in love. It's infatuation, it's lust. It's the nice feeling that you have someone giving you attention every day after work, FaceTiming you, calling you, someone sending you smiling emojis, someone telling you how awesome you are, someone listening to everything, someone asking all about your life. I mean, listen up. I mean, it's very, very easy to be very kind to someone who you're attracted to. You're attracted to their personality, their looks. This is very, very easy. It doesn't signify what kind of person they are. So it's not even just prayer. If one did not engage in serving the Muslims or the religion, then they would be far from reaching that station of peace. Some may say, what is serving Muslims or doing da'wah or helping Muslims? What does that have to do with marriage? Because the more you interact with people, the more you see their shortcomings. And as a consequence, you see your shortcomings. When you're serving in a da'wah, in community service, in your local Saturday or Sunday school, anyone can be cool and peaceful and drama-free at home. Go interact with people. Let's see how you conduct yourself then. That is a taste of how marriage will be. And when you see more people, you get more of a realistic view of how to conduct yourself and how people conduct themselves. Now, if one merely attends the sessions of knowledge, then they are far, but they have a chance. But when you choose someone who already serves the religion, they implement the religion. The religion is their life. It's the tissue of their lifestyle. You are on the right path to reach that level of tranquility, love, and mercy that we spoke about. This is the first point. The second point, take care of the marriage and the partner so that they reach the level of comfort between them, so that this matter will become easy and smooth. However, if they spend their days, like a lot of these millennials do, arguing, shouting with each other, instead of engaging in conflict resolution, just go to the Argile bar or just scroll on TikTok and Instagram, and when he leaves and you quickly call your girlfriends and you vent about him, then when you go to the Argile place and you vent about your wife, then you feel good because you talked to your girlfriend, he felt good because he spoke to his homies. You come home, you don't even acknowledge, you just go to sleep as if nothing happened. Wake up the next morning. Habibti, what do you want for breakfast? And then the cycle continues. 1 week like that passes, 1 month, 1 year. You went a whole year without resolving any conflict. MashaAllah. Your friends, or when you run to mama or baba, they know more about how you feel instead of your partner. And what ends up happening? She would say, I can't stand even looking at him in the face. And he says, I can't stand even hearing her voice. And not only hearing their voice, he also doesn't want to see her. So what does he do? He comes home from work or the grocery store, turns off the engine, puts the car in park, takes a moment or two to collect himself. When this is happening, yani, you have to do some wusa before you enter the class. I'm sorry, not the class, into the home. And the argumentation or the cold shoulder or the pettiness and all this happens, and the last argument is right before bed, where they yelled and they said snarky remarks. She insults his family, he insults her friends, they slept with their backs to each other. And that's if she didn't make him sleep on the couch, or that's if she didn't go sleep in the guest room. Then would you expect with such a couple that if she sprinkled some water on his face, he would wake up and smile and say, yes, let's go pray? Bring it back in full circle now. You wouldn't feel encouraged. He tells you, all right, let's go to the musalla, there's a lesson today. Let's go to the masjid, there's a halaqah. You don't even feel in the spiritual mood. I'd rather stay home. However, when you feel that your spouse is righteous, and despite their flaws, they care about you from their heart, despite their poor communication and talking over you sometimes, they want goodness for you. Not just a feeling, no. In his actions, you can see he really wants the best for you. He wants to make you happy. He feels chinky and he feels anxiety when you're not happy. You can see that he is trying to do what's best for you. It's different from someone who abuses you and commits pettiness and sins against you all day. Those who argue all day are deprived from that tranquility, love, and mercy, which is mentioned in Surah Al-Rum. Marriage is going to be difficult. I'm going to give you, if there's only one thing you take from this today, marriage is going to be difficult regardless. Whether you put an effort in being humble, not saying a snarky comment back, or after the fight, you cook her something. Or you go out and then you buy her some flowers. Some guys might say, buy her flowers, she was just talking back to me. Hey, again, if there's one thing you can take, you're going to be stressed out regardless. It's going to hurt your ego regardless. So you might as well do the act that's going to make your marriage a little sweeter. You're petty, you leave the house, you slam the door, you hide her phone. It still stresses you out. You still feel angry, you don't feel satisfied. Or option B, take door number 2. You're still stressed out, but you go out to clear your mind for 20 minutes, you come back, you buy her the white roses that she loves. Or for those women who Chipotle or Starbucks is their life, or maybe too soon with Starbucks, but Chipotle is their life. You bring her favorite Chipotle bowl. She still may be a little snarky, but it melts the tension a little bit. Or she may take it and go back to her room and she closed the door and then she's eating it and you're sitting in another room. You just broke down one wall. MashaAllah. So to realize that we are very far from reaching or even seeing such a portrait among Muslims, and yet we know many Muslims who fight every day, this shows us that there is a huge tear in the social fabric of our society. And when something was mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ, and he made supplication for the couple that does it, i.e. the one who wakes up and prays, for example, and we don't know anyone who does this thing in which the Prophet ﷺ, he supplicated for, yani for those who do it, then we know there's a big tear, there's a big hole in our social fabric. And the way to get back on track is not just by learning about our beautiful religion. It's about applying it. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, you will be asked, did you learn? If yes, did you apply? If yes, did you help spread? Anyone can memorize Al-Mukhtasar, Ibn As-Sakir, Al-Tahawi. Anyone can go teach a lesson or go to a lesson every week. But where's the effort? The effort isn't applying it. Saying, you know what, I'm going to be a better sibling. I'm going to be a better brother-in-law. I'm going to be a better father-in-law. I'm going to be better to my kids. It's not good for my kids to see me fighting with my wife all the time, for example, or with my husband, for example, whatever your situation may be. So how would you know the code if you don't learn this code? This is why it is an obligation for the one who wants to get married to learn about it. For those of you who have taken the obligatory knowledge or Fard al-Ain and got married without taking this chapter, you have fallen into a grave sin. Redeem yourselves immediately. It's not just about knowing how to conduct a valid nikah, although many people, they leave it to the shaykh and they themselves don't know how to do a valid nikah. It's about how to conduct yourself for the next 50, 60, 70 years with your spouse. So just as one is obligated to learn about prayer and fasting, so that these acts of worship can be worth something in the court of God on Judgment Day, one also needs to learn about the judgments of marriage to be able to treat their spouse correctly. And when you're asked by your homie or your girlfriend, you don't speak some haram, nasty, filthy words that actually tears their marriage even further. So one needs to learn about the marriage before getting involved in it. And for those who are already involved in marriage while ignorant about it, we're here to work with each other. We're here to support each other. So don't fret. Moreover, one needs to be more careful about the marriage contract than any other contract or transaction. Because what is the implication of an invalid marriage? You just trusted your imam. You trusted your shaykh. It would be an invalid marriage. Just like for a man to pray without wudu, or a woman to pray without hijab. This would be invalid, right? Likewise, if someone has an invalid marriage contract and they go home that night and they have intercourse with their boyfriend or girlfriend, because it's not their spouse, then you just committed zina. Akbar al-kabair, major sin. And what is the consequence of the child that comes from this intercourse? A bastard child. So what can he do then? When he comes to know about it later, he cannot reset or do anything about it. It's done. It's not like, for example, you bought a dog from someone, which is invalid, and then you go back to the person and say, wait, here's the money back, relieve me, let's do the contract in the proper way, and then you possess the dog in a lawful way, because you can possess a dog, you can acquire a dog, but you can't buy a dog. But if you paid money for a dog, you can undo it and do it in the rightful way. However, when a child is born in an unlawful way, that's it. Illegitimate child, this child is a bastard. One cannot do anything about it after that. This is why, in the laws revealed to the prophets, preserving the lineage is one of the 5 inclusive laws. All approximately 124,000 prophets, they have in common what? In their sacred law, preservation of lineage, preservation of property, like money, belongings, etc. Preservation of the aql, like not consuming corrosives. Preservation of life and preservation of the elements of one's honor, like the wife and daughter. Preservation of lineage means abstaining from illegal sexual relations, which may result in illegitimate children. So we have about 20 minutes left in the class, and with 5 minutes, when we finish the class, Maghrib will have been in for 5 minutes. So then we're going to end exactly on the hour, and we might adjust the class by 15 minutes so we have room for questions in the future classes, inshallah. So instead of 6, maybe next time it will be 5:45 Eastern Standard Time. But we'll continue and see what we can cover until we get to the hour, inshallah ta'ala. And when it becomes on the hour, on the dot, if someone could notify me in the chat, inshallah. Allah yubarak fikum.